The galaxy had belonged to the Zoran Empire for 1,000 years. Its banners hung over hundreds of star systems, and its fleets crossed the stars like endless rivers of metal and light. Most species no longer questioned the Empire's rule. They paid their taxes, followed imperial laws, and watched the black and silver warships move through space with cold authority. For generations, nothing had challenged the Empire's strength. Every rebellion ended the same way, quickly and completely. On the far edge of this vast empire, beyond the crowded trade lanes and busy colonies, a quiet region of space stretched like an endless ocean of mist. It was called the Veil Nebula. Its swirling clouds of gas and light hid old star wrecks and forgotten mining stations. Imperial maps marked the area as low priority. Patrols came once every few cycles just to keep the record clean. No one expected trouble there. One calm rotation. The Imperial frigate Vornax Pride cruised along the outer rim of the Veil. The ship was a medium patrol craft, armed well enough to scare off pirates, but far too small for major battles. Its crew of 200 followed a routine as dull as the gray corridors they walked each day. They scanned for stray smugglers, logged energy readings, and sent reports that no one ever read. Lieutenant Rallo stood at the primary sensor station, sipping a cup of bitter caf. He watched the endless display of faint stars and slow-moving dust. He had served in the Navy for 15 years and had never seen anything truly exciting. When the first flicker appeared on his console, he almost ignored it as another false reading. A spike of power in the nebula was not unusual, but this one repeated, steady, sharp, and growing stronger. "Captain," Rallos called, his voice tight. "Unidentified energy signature. Bearing 47 Mark II. Captain Serret moved to the sensor station. Her eyes narrowed as the display refreshed. "Magnitude? Stronger than any patrol ship," Rallo said. "But the pattern—" "I don't recognize it," Serret gave a slow nod. "Increase resolution. Inform engineering to keep the drives warm." The bridge crew straightened in their seats. The Veil Nebula was quiet but not harmless. Ancient wrecks sometimes emitted strange pulses. Yet as the readings sharpened, it became clear this was not some dead relic. The signal was moving fast. Moments later, the main viewer captured a shadow against the colorful clouds. At first, it looked like a trick of light. The object had no transponder code, no engine glow, and no standard shape. Its hull was dark and smooth, reflecting almost nothing. It slid through space like a shard of night. "That is not Imperial design," whispered Ensign Pea. Rallos checked his instruments again. No known match in the database. Hull composition unknown. Power readings. I don't even know how to describe them. It's like the energy keeps folding back on itself. Captain Serret's voice was steady, but the tension in her shoulders betrayed her concern. "Attempt hailing frequencies. Standard greetings." The communications officer sent out the calls. No response came back. Not even static. It was as if the dark ship absorbed the signals without a trace. "Range closing," Rallos reported. "It's heading directly toward us." On the bridge, the crew exchanged uneasy glances. The Veil Nebula's gases shimmered in soft greens and blues, wrapping the stranger in an eerie glow. The ship had no visible weapons, but something about its silent advance felt more dangerous than any fleet they had faced before. "Raise shields," Serret ordered. "Prepare evasive maneuver pattern Delta." Engines hummed as the Vornax Pride shifted position. The strange vessel continued forward, silent and graceful. Then, without warning, it stopped. No deceleration, no engine burn. One moment it was moving, the next it was still, as if the laws of motion no longer applied. Gasps filled the bridge. "How is that possible?" Pea asked. Rallos shook his head. "I can't track its propulsion, it's just there." A low vibration passed through the frigate's hull like the distant rumble of a storm. Lights flickered. Instruments went dark for 2 seconds and then returned, showing nothing but static. The ship's computers, built to withstand solar flares and plasma storms, struggled to keep their systems online. "Report," Serret demanded. "Temporary sensor blackout," Rallo said, frantically working his console. "No damage, but our entire data buffer has been wiped for the last 30 seconds. "They erased our data?" Pea whispered. Before anyone could answer, the dark vessel began to move again, this time sliding sideways across the void with impossible precision. It circled the Vornax Pride once, as if inspecting every angle, then drifted toward the densest part of the nebula. "Should we pursue?" the helm officer asked. Surratt hesitated. The Empire valued bold action, but she knew reckless pursuit could doom them all. Maintain distance, she said finally. Record everything. The Vornax Pride followed at the edge of sensor range. Yet even at full power they could not close the gap. The mysterious ship moved with a speed that defied calculation. Within minutes it vanished into the shimmering fog of the veil. All instruments went blank. No trail, no signature, nothing. Silence filled the bridge. Crew members stared at their screens as if willing the stranger to reappear. Ralos broke the stillness. It's gone. Completely gone. Captain Surratt stood motionless, her mind racing. An unknown ship with technology beyond Imperial science had entered their space and left at will. The Empire had faced many rivals, but none had ever arrived like this, without warning, without fear, and without leaving a trace. Transmit all data to Central Command, she said at last. Secure channel, highest priority. And make sure every crew member understands this encounter is classified. No personal logs, no casual reports. The officers nodded, though their eyes betrayed their unease. Every person on the bridge understood the truth. Whatever that ship was, it had looked directly at the might of the Zoran Empire and simply walked away. Far across the Veil Nebula, hidden behind layers of cosmic mist, the mysterious warship slowed to a gentle drift. Inside its dark hull, human crew members moved quietly between stations. Their uniforms bore no insignia, only the simple emblem of a blue planet long forgotten by the Empire. Commander Evelyn Drake stood at the command table, watching the fading signal of the Imperial frigate on her display. They will report what they saw, said Lieutenant Aaron, her science officer. Drake gave a slight smile. Good, let them wonder. The more questions they ask, the more the Empire will reveal about itself. Do you think they recognized us? Aaron asked. No, Drake replied. To them, humans are only old myths. They will search every database and find nothing. That is our advantage. The crew returned to their tasks. Engines powered down to silent mode. External lights dimmed. The ship melted into the nebula's dark embrace, leaving no hint of its presence. Back on the Vornax Pride, Captain Surratt prepared her report. She knew the Empire's rulers would not like what she had to tell them. An unidentified warship with impossible technology had entered Imperial space, ignored all hails, and vanished without a trace. For the first time in her career, she wrote words she had never imagined using. Recommendation, immediate investigation. Potential threat to Imperial security. As the frigate set course for the nearest relay station, the Veil Nebula swirled behind them, silent, mysterious, and alive with secrets. Somewhere in those glowing clouds a shadow waited, a warship of unknown origin, a vessel that had looked at the Empire and disappeared into the dark. None aboard the Vornax Pride could know that this was only the beginning. The stranger was not a ghost or a drifting relic. It was a living ship with a living crew, humans who had returned to a galaxy that no longer remembered their name. And the Empire, proud and unchallenged for centuries, had just felt the first tremor of a storm it could not yet see. The imperial capital of Zoran Prime glowed like a giant star in the darkness of space. Rings of silver cities circled its black oceans, and towers of crystal and steel stretched high above the clouds. From this heart of power, the Empire commanded hundreds of star systems. It was a place of endless activity, but beneath the shining surface lay worry. News of the strange encounter in the Veil Nebula had already reached the highest offices of government. In the secure halls of the Imperial High Command, a special meeting was called at dawn. The chamber was built from black stone and silver light, its ceiling filled with holographic stars. Grand Admiral Terion, a tall and sharp-eyed veteran, stood at the head of the council table. Around him sat fleet commanders, intelligence chiefs, and advisors. All wore the same tense expression. A single unknown ship had appeared on the Empire's border, and no one could explain how. Captain Surratt's report from the Vornax Pride played on the main screen. The Admiral watched silently as the footage showed a dark, smooth warship sliding through the glowing clouds of the Veil Nebula. The image froze on the ship's outline, a shape unlike any known design. No engines were visible, no markings, no weapons ports, just a shadow that seemed to absorb the light around it. This is the best visual we have, Surratt's recorded voice said. Sensors could not lock on. We lost data for 30 seconds. When the systems recovered, the vessel had vanished. We attempted pursuit but could not match its speed. When the recording ended, a heavy silence filled the chamber. Admiral Tarion turned to the intelligence director, a quiet woman named Vera. Analysis? Vera folded her hands. The data is incomplete. The energy signature does not match any known species. Hull composition is unknown. We cannot confirm even basic propulsion. In short, we have no explanation. Several officers shifted uneasily. The Empire prided itself on knowing every ship that crossed its borders. A vessel that left no trail was not just strange, it was dangerous. Commander Jarrow, a younger officer with bright eyes, leaned forward. Could this be a new design from the Kalor Republic? They've been advancing their stealth technology. No, Vera said firmly. Even the Kalor would leave some trace of ion exhaust or heat. This ship leaves nothing. What about ancient remnants? Another officer asked. There are old war machines hidden in the nebula. Perhaps, Vera said, but the precision of its maneuvers suggests a living crew. This is no mindless relic. Admiral Tarion let the room settle before speaking. Whatever it is, it moved with purpose. It observed our patrol, disabled their sensors, and left unharmed. This is a deliberate act. The council members exchanged worried looks. The Empire had enemies, but none with such skill. The idea of an unknown power operating inside Imperial space was more than an insult. It was a threat to their control. Tarion turned to a tall officer in silver armor. Marshal Wren, what is the state of our border defenses? Wren straightened. Strong, Grand Admiral. Patrol routes are active. No sign of hostile movement. Then double them, Tarion said. Send additional frigates to the Veil Nebula. Quietly. We cannot allow panic among the outer colonies. The Council agreed, but unease remained. The Empire's strength had always rested on certainty. Certainty of knowledge, of power, of control. Now a single unknown ship had shaken that certainty. Far from the capital, the Vornek's Pride traveled toward the nearest relay station to deliver its encrypted report. The crew remained unsettled. In the mess hall, voices dropped to whispers as sailors traded theories. It was a ghost ship, one engineer said. Maybe the spirits of old warriors. No, replied a young pilot. It was some secret rebel craft. Mark my words. Someone is testing weapons against the Empire. Lieutenant Ralos listened but stayed silent. He remembered the way their systems had gone dark, the strange folding energy that defied explanation. No rebel group could do that. Whatever the stranger was, it felt older and stronger than any pirate fleet. Captain Surrett kept her thoughts private. She spent long hours in her ready room, studying every frame of the recording. The dark ship's movement seemed almost playful, like a predator circling its prey. And the moment it left, the feeling on her bridge had been unmistakable. They had been spared, not defeated. Whoever commanded that vessel had chosen not to harm them. Inside the mysterious warship hidden deep within the Veil Nebula, Commander Evelyn Drake observed the Imperial reaction through intercepted transmissions. Her crew worked with silent efficiency, collecting data from Imperial patrols and relays. Every movement of the Zoran fleet was mapped in glowing lines across their main display. Lieutenant Aaron approached, carrying a small data pad. Interception complete. The Empire has doubled patrols along the border. High Command is calling for more reports. Drake gave a thin smile. As expected, they fear what they cannot name. Do you think they suspect our origin? Aaron asked. Not yet, Drake replied. To them, humans are myths buried in old charts. They will search their databases and find only fragments. Our ancestors left their records hidden well. Another officer, Navigation Chief Renna, turned from her console. We are receiving faint signals from the Imperial capital. They are debating whether we belong to an unknown species or an ancient empire. Good, Drake said. Let them argue. Confusion buys us time. The crew moved with quiet focus. Every system on their ship, the Shadow of Terra, was designed to remain invisible. Their ancestors had escaped the chaos of ancient wars and survived beyond the galactic rim, building technology that outpaced even the Empire's proudest fleets. Now, after generations of isolation, they had returned, not for conquest, but for knowledge, and perhaps something more. Drake looked out at the swirling clouds beyond the view window. The Veil Nebula shimmered in blues and greens, hiding them from Imperial eyes. We will continue to observe, she said softly. The Empire is strong, but strength can hide weakness. We need to know where it breaks. Back on Zoran Prime, Admiral Tarion reviewed a different set of reports. ancient records from the Empire's first era of expansion. Historians had been ordered to search for any mention of a civilization matching the unknown ship's description. Most of the old files were dry lists of conquered worlds, but one fragment caught his attention. It was a centuries-old exploration log, written in faded script. It spoke of a small fleet of explorers from a blue world beyond the outer rim. The explorers had vanished during the early days of the Empire, leaving behind only scattered settlements and stories of daring technology. The record referred to them by a single name: humans. Tarion frowned. The word meant little to him. Humans were legends used in old academy stories, brave wanderers who had disappeared before the Empire rose to power. Most scholars dismissed them as fiction, but the description of their ships, dark, fast, and strangely silent, felt too close to ignore. He called Vera to his office. "Director, have you ever heard of the lost explorers called humans?" Vera raised an eyebrow. "Only as myth, why?" Tarion turned the display toward her. "This report describes a people who vanished beyond the Veil Nebula centuries ago. Their ships were said to move without sound and bend light around them." Vera studied the record, her face unreadable. "Interesting. But a myth cannot erase a patrol's sensors." "Perhaps," Tarion said. "Or perhaps the myths were warnings we failed to understand." As the Empire's leaders debated, small changes spread through the outer colonies. Traders whispered of shadow sightings near remote stations. Patrol ships reported sudden power losses and brief sensor failures. No evidence could be captured, but fear traveled faster than any starship. The Empire tried to control the rumors, but stories grew with every telling. Some spoke of invisible fleets. Others claimed ancient explorers had returned to reclaim the stars. In taverns and markets, a single question echoed in countless languages: who are they? High above Zoran Prime, the Grand Admiral stood before the great star map of the Empire. Its shining lines of power stretched across the galaxy. Yet in the far corner, at the edge of the Veil Nebula, a small marker blinked red. The place where a single unknown ship had humiliated an Imperial patrol. For the first time in generations, the Empire's perfect map of control showed a flaw. Admiral Tarion clenched his hands behind his back. He knew the Empire would respond with strength. But deep inside, a quieter thought stirred, a thought he dared not speak aloud. What if strength would not be enough? The Tarkin Rift stretched like a black scar across space. It was a region of broken gravity and drifting asteroids, a place where sensor signals twisted and echoes confused even the best equipment. For the Zoran Empire, the rift was both a danger and an opportunity. It was the perfect place to set a trap. Grand Admiral Tarion stood on the command deck of the dreadnought Imperial Dawn, the flagship of a battle group of 30 warships. Around him, dozens of officers monitored glowing consoles. Outside the view window, the rift shimmered with faint blue lightning. Tarion's voice was calm but firm as he gave his orders. "All ships hold position," he said. "Maintain low emissions. We wait for the signal." For days, Imperial intelligence had tracked faint anomalies near the Veil Nebula. Energy patterns suggested the mysterious warship was moving toward the Tarkin Rift. Tarion had decided this was their chance. The rift's unstable space would limit the intruder's ability to escape. If they could surround it here, perhaps they could force it to reveal its secrets. The fleet floated silently in the darkness, hidden behind asteroids and magnetic storms. Every ship was at full readiness. Fighters waited in launch bays. Gravity nets were primed to activate. The Empire had planned for every possibility, except the one that was about to unfold. Hours passed. The crew grew restless. Some officers whispered that the stranger might not come, but then a low chime rang through the command deck. "Contact," shouted the sensor chief. "Bearing 12 Mark 8. Power signature? It matches the unknown vessel." Tarion stepped forward. On screen, the main display came alive with a ghostly image. From the edge of the rift, a dark shape slid into view. It looked even more unreal than in the patrol's recording, sleek, shadowy, and silent. There were no lights, no engine flares, only the faint reflection of distant stars. It glided forward with the calm grace of a predator. "All ships, hold fire," Tarion ordered. "Do not provoke until my command." The human warship, the Shadow of Terra, moved deeper into the rift. Its crew watched the hidden Imperial fleet with careful eyes. Inside the command chamber, Commander Evelyn Drake studied her display. Lines of Imperial ships glowed as faint shadows on her advanced sensors. "They think they are hidden," Lieutenant Aaron said quietly. Drake's expression remained calm. They underestimate our scans. Do we have their communication channels? Intercept complete, Aaron confirmed. We can hear everything. Drake gave a small nod. Then let's give them a demonstration. On the Imperial Dawn, alarms began to flash. Admiral, the sensor chief said, our communications network is experiencing interference. Signals are distorting across the fleet. Tarion frowned. Source? Unknown. It's spreading across all frequencies. One by one, the fleet's encrypted channels began to fail. Orders could no longer pass from ship to ship. Holomaps blinked with static. Even the dreadnought's internal systems flickered, as if an invisible hand was brushing against their circuits. Activate countermeasures, Tarion commanded. The technicians worked furiously, but every defense protocol collapsed seconds after activation. It was as if the intruder anticipated each move. Meanwhile, the shadow of Terra drifted closer. It did not fire. It did not speak. It simply glided between the Imperial ships like a shadow through a forest. Graviton nets ready, called an officer. Should we deploy? Not yet, Tarion said. He stared at the dark vessel, his jaw tight. This was no ordinary opponent. Every instinct told him that striking first could end badly. Inside the human warship, Commander Drake spoke calmly. Disable their flagship's engines. No permanent damage. Let them understand our control. At her command, a silent pulse of energy rippled from the shadow of Terra. It was invisible to the eye but powerful enough to shake the heart of the dreadnought. On the Imperial Dawn, the deck trembled. Warning lights blazed red. Main drive offline, shouted the engineering chief. We've lost primary propulsion. How? Tarion demanded. I don't know, Admiral. All systems report normal, but the engines will not respond. Around the rift, other Imperial ships began reporting similar malfunctions, navigation errors, power drains, sudden shutdowns of weapon systems. The fleet that had come to trap the stranger now found itself trapped by it. Still, the mysterious ship did not fire a single shot. Then a voice broke the silence. It was calm and clear, echoing across every Imperial frequency, despite their failed communications. This is Commander Evelyn Drake of the independent vessel Shadow of Terra. We mean no harm. But the Zoran Empire must leave the free worlds beyond the Veil in peace. Do not follow us. The words were simple, but they struck like thunder. Officers on every ship froze, stunned to hear a language so clear, so human. Many had never heard the word human outside of old myths. Admiral Tarion clenched his fists. Open a channel, he ordered. I will speak with them. But the communication officer shook his head helplessly. Admiral, all channels are locked. The message is one way, the voice continued. We seek no war. But if the Empire threatens the Free Stars, we will respond. Remember this warning. As suddenly as it began, the transmission ended. On the Imperial flagship, the silence felt heavy. Officers looked at Tarion, waiting for his command. But the Admiral could only watch as the dark ship began to move again. Drive systems still offline, reported the engineering chief. We cannot pursue. The fleet's mighty weapons were powerless. Their enemy had spoken and left them paralyzed. Inside the shadow of Terra, Drake watched the Imperial ships drift helplessly. Their engines will recover in 10 minutes, Aaron reported. Good, Drake said. Let them leave unharmed. We have sent the message. Rena, the navigation chief, glanced up. Will they listen? Perhaps not at first, Drake replied. But now they know we exist, and fear is a powerful teacher. The human crew began preparations to leave the rift. Their mission was not destruction, but revelation. They wanted the Empire to realize that its borders were no longer unchallenged. To the oppressed worlds, the Empire's fear would be a spark of hope. Minutes later, as predicted, the Imperial fleet's systems began to recover. Engines restarted. Communications returned, but by the time the dreadnought sensors cleared, the mysterious ship was gone. Search pattern Alpha, Tarion commanded. Find them! Frigates scattered across the rift, scanning every corner. They found only empty space and faint energy echoes. No trail, no warp signature, nothing. Commander Jarrow turned to the Admiral. They disabled our entire fleet without a single shot. What kind of power is this? Tarion did not answer at once. He stared at the empty starfield, remembering the calm voice that had spoken across their systems. Shadow of Terra, humans, a people thought lost to legend. His mind returned to the ancient records he had studied. The stories of explorers who vanished beyond the rim. Could those stories be true? And if so, how powerful had these humans become in their long absence? Finally, he spoke. Prepare a full report for the Emperor. Tell him the myths have returned. News of the encounter spread despite the Empire's attempts at secrecy. Merchant captains whispered of a phantom ship that could disable entire fleets. On remote colonies, oppressed citizens shared the story with quiet excitement. Some called the stranger a savior, others a warning. Across the Empire, fear and curiosity grew with each retelling. For the first time in centuries, the Zoran Empire had met an opponent it could neither classify nor control. A single human warship had entered their trap, neutralized their forces, delivered a message of freedom, and vanished into the void. Grand Admiral Tarion stood on the bridge of his recovering flagship and looked into the dark stretch of the Tarkin Rift. His officers waited for orders of retaliation, but he gave none. Deep inside, he understood the truth. The Empire had not just faced an unknown ship. It had faced a power from its own forgotten past, and it had been found wanting. The Zoran Empire was shaken. Its fleets had faced unknown enemies before, but nothing like this. No recorded species could disable entire warships without firing a single weapon, and yet, for all its pride and power, the Empire could not ignore what had happened in the Tarkin Rift. On Zoran Prime, historians and archivists worked frantically. The High Command demanded answers. The name humans appeared repeatedly in ancient logs, but most records were fragmented, scattered, or deliberately erased. The old archives spoke of explorers from a small blue world far beyond the Empire's reach. These explorers had once ventured into the Outer Rim, seeking trade, knowledge, and contact with other species. But after a series of mysterious disappearances, they were considered lost. Grand Admiral Tarion studied a dusty scroll under the pale light of the archive chamber. The symbols described a fleet of human ships that could bend light, move silently, and survive in regions of space where others could not. The words were almost unbelievable. He leaned back, rubbing his eyes. Could these ancient humans really have survived beyond the Empire's knowledge for centuries? And could they now be returning? Meanwhile, across the Veil Nebula, the human warship Shadow of Terra drifted quietly in its hiding place. Commander Evelyn Drake stood at the observation deck, looking at the swirling clouds outside. Unlike the Empire's fleet, the humans were calm. Their mission was deliberate. They did not seek war, but they had returned to ensure the balance of power in the galaxy. Commander, Lieutenant Aaron said, breaking the silence, we've collected full scans of the Imperial fleet. Their technology is advanced, but their strategy is predictable. They rely heavily on intimidation and overwhelming numbers. Drake nodded. That is exactly why we must remain cautious. Their power is strong, but their confidence makes them blind. We will continue to observe. We strike only if the Empire threatens innocent worlds or our hidden colonies. Navigation Chief Renna approached with a data pad. We intercepted communications about additional patrols near the Outer Rim. They're searching for us. Let them search, Drake said. We leave no trace. They will not find us, not yet. Back in the Imperial capital, the High Command debated their next move. Emperor Kalian himself had convened a council of the Empire's most brilliant minds. Scholars, generals, and intelligence officers presented their findings. All spoke of humans as legends, yet the evidence from the Tarkin Rift could not be ignored. An elder historian named Maverick addressed the council. These records are centuries old, but they are clear. Humans were explorers and pioneers who once ventured beyond the known borders. They were resourceful, resilient, and technologically advanced beyond the standards of the early Empire. Their disappearance has been a mystery for generations. A fleet commander, Admiral Raylan, spoke next. Legends do not destroy fleets. Our forces were disabled without damage. Whoever these humans are, they are a direct threat to Imperial control. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Then we must know everything about them. Find their origins, uncover their technology, and prepare our fleets. No unknown species will challenge the Empire again. Your Majesty, Vera, the intelligence director, said cautiously, there may be more at stake. If these humans are descendants of the lost explorers, they are not just powerful. They have had centuries to develop technology far beyond ours. Direct confrontation could be catastrophic. The room fell silent. The Emperor's gaze swept across the council. Prepare for every possibility, but we will not cower. If the humans wish to reveal themselves, let them. The Empire will meet them, not with fear, but with strategy. Meanwhile, the shadow of Terra moved slowly through the hidden sectors of the Veil Nebula. The human crew had set up observation points near Imperial trade routes, learning the Empire's patterns. Every patrol, every communication, every fleet movement was logged with precision. They studied the Empire not to attack, but to understand. "Commander," Aaron said, "our sensors show a shipment moving from the inner colonies to the Tarkin Rift. They suspect we are there." Drake studied the data. "Let them think so. The Empire's fear is growing. They will overreact, and their mistakes will show us the weaknesses in their control." Rena added, "We can see where the Empire relies too heavily on centralized command. Local patrols are effective only when directives come from above. Delay or confusion in orders creates gaps we can exploit if necessary." Drake nodded. "Exactly. Our mission is observation first. The galaxy must know that humans are no longer forgotten. The Empire must see the consequences of underestimating a people they once dismissed as myths." On one remote colony, the first hints of rebellion began to appear. Citizens whispered about the mysterious human warship. Rumors spread of a shadow vessel that could appear and disappear at will, that could neutralize the Empire's mighty fleets. People shared stories quietly in markets and taverns, careful not to draw Imperial attention. A young engineer named Lyra spoke to her friends in hushed tones. "They say a single ship stopped a whole fleet. Humans, long-lost humans, are back." Her friend Kale shook his head. "It's impossible. Humans vanished centuries ago. How could one survive in the depths of space?" Lyra smiled faintly. "Maybe that's what makes them humans. They survived when everyone thought they were gone, and now they return." Across the colonies, similar whispers spread. Hope stirred among those who had lived under the Empire's strict rule. The legend of the humans became more than stories. It became a symbol of possibility. In the human command chamber, Drake watched the reports from distant colonies. "The message is spreading faster than we anticipated," she said. "People are already beginning to hope. That is good. The Empire's power is absolute only in the minds of those who fear it. Once doubt spreads, everything changes." Aaron studied the readings. "We may need to accelerate our observation mission. The Empire is preparing a larger fleet. If they discover us too soon, our colonies could be exposed." Drake's gaze hardened. "Then we move carefully. Our presence must remain a secret. The galaxy will remember the humans, but the Empire will not yet know where to strike." Back in the Imperial capital, Emperor Kalian reviewed intelligence reports from the Outer Rim. The Tarkin Rift incident had already caused alarm among fleet commanders. Traders and miners had reported strange disruptions, and rumors of the shadow ship reached even the inner systems. The Emperor frowned. "Find them," he commanded. "I want answers. Every sector, every record, every hidden archive. If these humans exist, they cannot be allowed to remain hidden. Our Empire's security depends on it." Vera, the intelligence director, spoke carefully. "Your Majesty, they may not seek war. Their power is vast and their technology is unknown. A full-scale assault could be disastrous." Kalian's eyes narrowed. "Then we do not attack blindly. We observe. We prepare. But the Empire will not be surprised twice." Meanwhile, the humans continued to map the Empire's strategies. They discovered reliance on specific supply routes, predictable fleet patterns, and centralized command structures. Every weakness was logged, every pattern studied. The Shadow of Terra had been built for survival, not combat. But its crew understood that knowledge could be more powerful than weapons. "We do not underestimate the Empire," Drake reminded her officers. "We study them. We observe them. And when the time comes, we will act, not for revenge, but for freedom." Aaron nodded. "Our ancestors endured centuries of isolation. We survived where the Empire thought we had vanished. Now we return, not to destroy, but to remind the galaxy that humans still exist." Drake looked out at the swirling nebula, her eyes reflecting the shifting light. "And the Empire will learn that myths are not always dead. Sometimes they return stronger than anyone imagined." Across the galaxy, small signs of change began to appear. Colonies once silent under the Empire's rule whispered stories of a ship from the shadows. Traders rerouted cautiously, fearing interference from a force beyond Imperial control. Fleet commanders reconsidered their strategies, and even the Empire's historians questioned old legends with new curiosity. The humans remained hidden, but their presence was no longer a secret. Their shadows moved across the edges of the Empire, invisible yet undeniable. Every patrol, every fleet movement, every Imperial plan was now observed. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Zoran Empire realized that it was not as unchallenged as it had believed. The return of humanity, long thought lost, was only the beginning. And soon the Empire would have to face the truth. Power alone could not guarantee control, and myths could awaken to challenge even the mightiest rulers. The Tarkin Rift had become the stage for a confrontation no one in the Zoran Empire could have predicted. For months, the Empire had tried to locate the elusive human ship that had humiliated its fleets and shaken its confidence. Patrols scoured every nebula, every asteroid belt, every abandoned station, but the ship had disappeared every time, leaving only shadows behind. Grand Admiral Tarion, aboard the dreadnought Imperial Dawn, knew the humans were out there. Intelligence reports suggested the vessel was no longer simply observing, they were ready to act if necessary. The Empire had assembled its largest fleet in decades, 1,000 ships ranging from massive dreadnoughts to nimble patrol craft. All were arrayed near a dying star at the edge of the Tarkin Rift, forming a massive iron ring that no enemy could hope to penetrate, or so the Empire thought. Sensor readings are fluctuating, reported Lieutenant Malric, the fleet's chief officer. Something is moving within the shadows near the star, but it's not showing on any standard scans. Tarion's jaw tightened. They've learned to hide even from our sensors. Prepare all fleets for engagement, but maintain formation. Wait for my signal. Across the void, the shadow of Terra drifted silently. Commander Evelyn Drake studied the glowing star in front of them. The humans had chosen this place carefully. It was a natural trap, one the Empire might expect to control. Yet it contained gravitational anomalies and pockets of dense plasma, making precision maneuvers difficult for large fleets. Small ships like theirs could move with agility the Empire could not match. "Everyone ready?" Drake asked. "All systems operational," Lieutenant Aron replied. "Their fleet is massive, but we can see their weaknesses. Energy grids are centralized. Communications rely heavily on direct channels, and they depend on predictable formations." Drake nodded. "Good. Remember, we do not seek destruction unless they threaten innocent worlds. Our purpose is to speak, to remind the galaxy that humans are back." The human crew activated the ship's stealth protocols. Its dark hull absorbed surrounding light, blending with the shadows. It was invisible to the Empire's sensors, appearing only when it wished to be seen. On the Imperial Dawn, the fleet commander, Admiral Rylan, frowned as readings appeared and disappeared. "Admiral, the intruder has entered the star system undetected. We cannot lock on. Our weapons are failing intermittently." Tarion's eyes narrowed. "Signal all fleets. Prepare energy shields. Engage only on my command. If this is a human, we must not underestimate them." Then, without warning, every ship in the fleet experienced the impossible. Weapons froze, engines faltered, and communication channels distorted. Panic rippled through the fleet. Sensors showed phantom images. Ship coordinates shifted, and some vessels reported that their own fleetmates seemed to disappear entirely from displays. "What is happening?" shouted Commander Jarrow. "They're controlling our systems," Malric said, his voice tight. "Without firing a single weapon." Tarion clenched his fists. He had prepared for ambushes, pirates, even rival fleets, but never this. The humans did not attack. They demonstrated power, precision, and control beyond anything the Empire had known. Then, a voice cut across every channel simultaneously. Calm, confident, and unmistakably human. "This is Commander Evelyn Drake of the independent vessel Shadow of Terra. We do not seek war. The Zoran Empire has ruled with fear for centuries. That ends today. Leave the free worlds beyond the Veil Nebula in peace, or you will face consequences beyond your calculations." The fleet froze. Officers exchanged stunned glances. No human voice had been heard for centuries, and yet here it was, carrying authority and warning alike. Tarion's lips pressed into a thin line. "Open all channels. Attempt response." "Channels are locked," Malric replied. "We cannot reply." Drake's voice continued, calm but unwavering. "We are not here to destroy, only to remind. The galaxy remembers humanity. The myths are true. We have returned to watch, to protect, and to warn. Choose your next actions carefully." The humans began to move. Slowly at first, then with purposeful speed. A ripple of energy emanated from the Shadow of Terra. disabling weapon systems across several dreadnoughts. Shields flared and then dropped, engines sputtered, and targeting arrays went offline. The Empire's massive fleet could neither move effectively nor attack. Tarion slammed his fist on the console. Prepare countermeasures. Restore power to the main grids. Technicians scrambled, but every attempt was anticipated. The humans controlled the battlefield with precision. The Empire's greatest fleet, formed to crush an unknown vessel, was paralyzed, and yet the Shadow of Terra remained perfectly still, neither firing nor harming the crews aboard. The humans do not wish to kill, whispered Commander Jero. They only want us to listen. Tarion stared at the empty space where the vessel should have been. It was invisible yet omnipresent. Then we will hear, he muttered. From the command deck of the Shadow of Terra, Drake spoke to her crew. The message has reached them. Their arrogance is shaken, and their fear is growing. Soon the galaxy will understand that humanity is not gone. Aaron looked at the maps displaying the Imperial fleet's positions. They are beginning to retreat in disorder. They do not understand what they face. Drake smiled faintly. They will learn. But today we do not fight, we speak. Observation is our weapon and knowledge is our shield. Rena, the navigator, added, their colonies will hear the story soon. Fear and hope will spread faster than any ship. Exactly, Drake said. The Empire may be powerful, but it is not invincible. And now, it knows there is someone watching from the shadows. Back on Zoran Prime, Emperor Kalian received live reports from the fleet. His eyes widened at the descriptions. Weapon systems failing, dreadnoughts immobilized, and entire formations paralyzed by a single unknown ship. Historians had spoken of humans as myths, but now they were real, and their power was undeniable. Vera, the intelligence director, stood beside him. Your Majesty, the humans do not appear to seek war, but they control the battlefield completely. Any attack could provoke disaster. Kalian's face was grim. Then we listen. The galaxy has changed, and we must adapt. Humanity has returned. Let this warning be recorded. The Empire will not strike blindly again. The human warship began its final act in the system. It activated a wide-area transmission, broadcast across the galaxy, using frequencies that bypassed all Imperial encryption. People of the galaxy, Drake's calm voice said, humans do not seek conquest. We do not seek destruction. But freedom belongs to every world, and no empire has the right to rule through fear alone. The myths are true. Humanity has returned to watch, to remind, and to protect. Let every world choose its destiny. Across hundreds of star systems, receivers and sensors captured the message. Citizens who had long lived under fear smiled, whispered, and shared the news. Traders rerouted safely, and small colonies began to believe in hope for the first time in generations. In the Imperial fleet, officers stared at the readings, stunned. Entire systems had received the broadcast. The Zoran Empire's influence had been shaken not by weapons but by words and presence. Drake watched the final transmissions fade. The galaxy has seen our power and our purpose, she said. Let them remember this moment. The Empire will think twice before dismissing humans again. Aaron nodded. Our colonies are safe and the Empire is cautious. We have achieved our goal without firing a single shot. Drake looked out at the dying star, its light reflecting on the ship's hull. Power is not always measured by destruction, she said softly. Sometimes it is measured by control, knowledge, and courage. Today we have shown all three. The humans activated their stealth systems and disappeared into the Veil Nebula once more. No trace remained. Only echoes of a legend reborn in the hearts and minds of the galaxy. On the Imperial dawn, Tarion watched the space where the Shadow of Terra had been. Report, he said quietly. Malric shook his head. They are gone, Admiral. No signature, no trail, nothing. It is as if they were never here. Tarion's eyes narrowed. Then we must prepare. The Empire has seen its first shadow and the humans have spoken. We will not underestimate them again. Across the Empire, whispers of hope and fear spread alike. Myths had returned. Legends had become real. And humanity, long thought lost, had shown that even the mightiest empire could be challenged from the shadows. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Zoran Empire knew it was not invincible, and the galaxy would never be the same.